destroyed because of this freak. I won't allow it! These babies just saved this lame fest party!
What's going on? You are listening to thisweekingeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman. Welcome back. It's almost spring, but I'm not alone as I trek through this wonderful world of podcastiness that we all know and love from the city of Kitchener, Ontario, Canada.
Alex, the producer.
It feels nice to be back. We've had a couple of weeks off, mostly sickness in one case, exhaustion in yours. I got busy with some other projects, so do apologize, but we've always had a continual drip of content coming out. Some pre-recorded review shows are as fresh as they possibly can be. Had a lot of fun working on some of that stuff actually during, I guess, the extended break, I guess, more or less. It was really nice to go back to Fallout 4 for a change. So you heard that review, I think, last week, I want to say. And it's been a good little while. We often kind of check in what we've been doing recently. I've been doing a lot of writing projects, actually. Some paid, some not. Can't discuss a lot of it. But I found a cool place to work. As much as I love Beaker and Dutch and Blair, sometimes they're a little bit of a distraction. So I've been going to this place in Guelph called 10C, which is this like shared working space. There's a term for it. It's called hot desking. And I've been going to this place and I can pop on my headphones. I get a desk, I get Wi-Fi, I get use of an entire office floor for $10 a day.
Not to be confused with hot boxing. Very different.
Yes, very, very, very different. But it's been a really good time. I'm working on a couple of different projects down there, so it's been really, really good. I've been doing a lot of my politicking here in the region, and that kind of led to a few conversations that went in very unexpected directions. And as a result, I announced this on my public Facebook, but I might as well say it here. So in about 2 weeks, I'm taking a tour of the University of Guelph. I'm going to be meeting with an academic advisor, and I'm going to be making preparations to go to law school in probably a year or two. And I'm going to start taking all my prep courses now. And that's going to be my future. As far as I know, the podcast will still continue because some people work while they go to school. I'm going to continue to podcast while I go to school. So that is my plan, such as it stands, and all the other things that I do on a fun side basis anyway. And I figure it's a good way to give voice to a community that's more often marginalized and where access is not always guaranteed. And it's a good way to help people. So I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for helping people in places where they don't get a chance to speak. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be an interesting challenge, to say the very least. As you and I were discussing off, Mike, definitely the hardest thing I've ever done, but nothing worth doing was ever easy. And I want to do something that means something. And it's a lot different than publishing my name in a Star Trek book, not to lessen the value of what that is. But this will go so much further beyond me. And I literally just got off the phone with my therapist before we got on the call today to do the podcast. And she's like, I'm really proud of you. That shows a lot of passion, initiative, and this is where I think you're meant to be. And I'm thinking that makes me feel really good, because I've had members of the community ask me in the last couple of weeks that I've been dealing with a lot of political stuff. Oh, I've had almost every day. So do you have a background in legal? Because you talk like a lawyer. And I'm like, no, I talk about Star Trek and the Master Chief. So it's weird. It's a lot of responsibility, but I'm looking forward to shouldering that in the best way that I know how. So other than that, I've went to the movies a bunch. I went to go see Undertone, which is the new Canadian horror movie by VVS and A24. If you can see this movie, please do so, but see it in a good theater with really good sound, and make sure it's a good environment. Like, if there's people talking, leave. Get your ticket back. Wait until you can get a good quiet theater. Because if you can have people who are buying into the atmosphere, that's definitely worth it. I also saw another Canadian movie, which I got sold on by our friend Justin. And it was called Nirvana, the Band, the Show, the Movie. I had no idea what it was about. Not word fucking one. And I'm so glad that I saw it. It is the most absurd thing I've seen in a number of years. The less I tell you, the better. It's about two guys trying to play a show at a bar called the Rivery, or I can't pronounce it. You know where this place is in Toronto. It's a very famous comedy bar. And that's all you really need to know. Beyond that, just sit back and enjoy 2 hours of utter strangeness. You will not regret it. So if it's playing in your local area, go see that. Other than that, I got some pretty cool stuff coming up for review. I've been getting into the Magic the Gathering Universes Beyond with their Ninja Turtle set. I thought Final Fantasy took me. This takes me more, because I don't necessarily know who Gobez is. I know he's the bad guy from Final Fantasy V, but Ninja Turtles. From four. Yeah. You see. But with Ninja Turtles, I know what the Technodrome is. I know what an Utom is. I know who Kurai is. I know all these terms. It is such a fun and absurd set. But yeah, I'll talk about that in my review. You'll probably hear that in like a week or so, because Alex will have his review show. We have the main show. And as of right now, I'm currently working on Toxic Commando, and I'm working on WWE 2K26. So that is my week. What have you been doing since we last talked?
Well, last week I went... Is it last week? Yeah, we're already in a new week. Jeez. I went and saw the Crash Test Dummies concert here. For those, I guess, under the age of 40 and in the States, you might have heard one or two of their songs on the radio and you'd be like, oh, it's them. But if you're in Canada, they had probably closer to 10 hits, I think, overall. Really? Yeah, the two big ones being Superman's song and that song. But they had, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 7 hits. And then they sort of just faded. They're from that era of, what would you call that? Like,
grungy folk, maybe?
It's folk, but it's not folk. It's like college folk rock.
Yeah, it's like
Bare Naked Ladies. Before Bare Naked Ladies became like meme worthy in the States, like for their like pop rappy stuff they did in the States. Basically everything before Maroon.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'd say that's pretty accurate. Like, I remember the Crash Test Dummies. It's weird. I can't remember the Superman song, but I remember the song they did for the Dumb and Dumber soundtrack called The Ballad of Peter Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, that was a cover song, but it was like way more famous when they did it. The Superman song is the slower one. I'll send you the link.
Scrubs?
It's very possible.
Okay.
I mean, that sounds like something they would. Scrubs pulled a lot of like more obscure Canadian, like Safety Dance. I feel like they popularized it in the States, even though it was not popular down there before that. So like they've grabbed a lot of weird stuff. But yeah, like Superman's song, when you hear it, you'll go, oh yeah,
that one.
It's that one. What else? Anyway, saw them. They were good. And that was basically my last week, because we had, what was it? -30 with wind. And then,
plus 20.
It was like, we had -30. There were 3 feet of snow outside, literally 3 feet of snow. And then within 2 days, it was plus 20 and rain.
Yeah, like we had a day or two where it was absolutely gorgeous. I got a chance to drive my chair, my new wheelchair, which I don't know if I've ever mentioned that on the show. I got a new one recently. And it was gorgeous. And then all of a sudden, boom, welcome back to winter, bitches. I was like, what the hell?
For our American friends, I remember checking the one day we went from -8 Fahrenheit to 65 in one day.
Yeah, like
and
that
then
was
and then back down to, I think it was 20 Fahrenheit. So we had like fluctuations, and we went from, again, 3 feet of snow to torrential rain with flooding.
Yep.
To snow again.
Like this
so
winter's been wacky.
When we say, like, last week and the week before, it was like, if it's any wonder why at various points we have been both under the weather or exhausted and that, it's because either one day, like, I don't know of very many other places in the world where a temperature change of 50 degrees can happen within 24 hours.
I can think of maybe the deserts, but that's such an extreme because when it goes to the cold at night to the hot of the day. But yeah, like the thing that really took me by surprise, and this is weird, I get a headache about once every 2 to 3 years. Like, I just don't get them. Yeah. The temperature change has been so bad. Like last night, I was laying in bed in agony because I was like, why does my fucking head hurt so much? And Blair's like, have you not noticed the temperature change? I'm like, what are you talking about? And because I haven't been outside all day. And she's like, oh, and it's the barometric pressure change. Like even right now, as we're recording the show on the Monday here, it's raining outside, and Blair she's building towards a migraine. I can feel pressure building up, which for me is highly unusual. However, though, when you mentioned those big temperature extremes, I've realized I have arthritis, which, I'm 44 years old. That's not to be unexpected, but
44 and big people get it in their joints more.
Yeah, and that's where I was going with this. So I'm laying in bed, and the one morning I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to go outside today. I'm going to have a great day. I'm just going to go wander the mall. I'm going to go explore. Nope. I was like, why does my hip hurt? And I was like, did I lay on something? For about 5 minutes, I'm laying there, like, just trying to let the pain pass over me. And I'm not even kidding when I say it's like, did I break something? Like, is something wrong? And I'm laying there and I'm moving my hip. I'm thinking, okay, it moves. I've got more or less range of motion, but it just hurts really bad. So maybe I pulled something, maybe it's not. And again, I go to Blair, who's sort of my go-to medical expert. I'm like, hey, here are my symptoms. What do you think? So she would then talk to my sister, who's a nurse practitioner. She's like, no, Mike, you got nothing to worry about. You didn't break anything. It's arthritis. I'm like, holy shit, really? It can hurt like that? And she's like, yeah, and you're lucky. So I spent my day in bed with like painkillers, and like, I'm not used to this. Like this weather affecting my joints like this, I'm not used to it because me, I'm very active.
Well, yeah.
But,
and with me, I've got lymphedema, so I've got swelling in the one leg. When the weather changes, it's like especially if it gets really humid, or like we're going even in the winter. Like, but because we had this extreme weather changes, there were a few days where I woke up and I went, I don't even have to look outside. Weather's bad. I can tell just like if my leg feels heavier or if I feel more sluggish. I'm like, I've had plenty of sleep. Why am I like, oh, I see it. We've had a 30-degree temperature change in 12 hours.
It's so crazy. I mean, and they say climate change isn't real. I would love you to
it was the problem was when people said, oh, it's global warming's not real. It's like, global warming, they refuse to understand the idea that global means the world and not just the country
local
you live
region.
in.
Yeah, exactly. Not just localized.
Global warming really, without getting too technical, global warming really is mostly about talking about the ice caps. Anything. It's about the global warming is about the water level rising. Yeah. More than really anything, and ecosystems changing, yada yada yada. But climate change, that's getting harder for them to deny that we're having, you can only have so many unprecedented weather events before it's no longer random.
Well, you know what's strange, and this will be our last thing before you transition into what we're going to talk about this week. I saw a notification yesterday and it made me laugh. as far as I understand, yesterday Washington D.C. was under tornado threat yesterday, and I'm not saying that I'm a believer. That's all I'm saying. But I did find that kind of funny. So in that interest of moving on from politically charged topics, we got a lot to talk about today. So we're going to be talking about some high-profile cancellations at Hulu and Paramount. One of them very much took me by surprise. A revival that, I don't know. But we also got some weird stuff involving seasoning packets. I can definitely tell some of these are from you. And one of my favorite topics, space weather. So we got all these and more, plus we got a review show packed from you. What are we going to be hearing about today in terms of review?
Well, we've got a new webcam from Razer. We've also got Spaceballs, the animated series. Bet you forgot that existed.
I did.
As well as the new Pokemon game.
Ooh, I'm excited. All right, guys, we will be back right here on thisweekingeek.net as we take an adventure into the Pokemon land. We will be back right after this, right here on thisweekingeek.net. I've been Mike the Birdman. He's been Alex the producer. We'll be back right after this.
In Pokemon Pokopia, you see a place you can call home. You recognize the potential to rebuild, nurture, and grow something wonderful. Not just for you, but for all your Pokemon friends who are eager to lend a hand or a green thumb. So make this place feel alive again. Because home is what you put your heart into. Pokemon Pokopia. Only on Nintendo Switch 2.
Alex, the producer, here with a quickie review. Our friends at Nintendo sent a review copy of Pokopia, or however you want to pronounce it, Pokopia. I know that there's official ways of saying it, that everybody sort of has their own way, but needless to say, for anybody that's been living under a rock, this has sort of been the sleeper hit that, when it was first announced, I think everybody was scratching their heads and went, okay, so is it Pokemon? It's Pokemon, but like Harvest Moon, or Pokemon meets, Animal Crossing, something. It's a little bit of everything there. So basically, at its heart, it's like a life sim, sort of like farming, design your area, simulation kind of game. You play essentially as a Ditto that is modeled after its original trainer, so that way you get to design how it looks and everything, and you're basically building up the biomes that you're in to unlock different Pokemon that show up, and then you can befriend them and they join in, and you're doing things like growing and designing and everything you sort of figured from the trailers that you might have seen. The thing here is there is an underlying story which I will not spoil, but the story is actually very intriguing, beyond what I would have thought for sure. So, you start playing for the simulator aspects, and then you kind of get hooked in by the story itself and what's building around it. Gameplay wise, it's solid. It's what you'd expect from it. Visually, it's more impressive than I was expecting. Obviously, being a Switch 2 exclusive title, it can take advantage of the hardware a lot more. In my mind, this is something that probably could have run on the Switch 1. It's just it would have had a lot of compromises, I think, for hardware that's basically 10 years old at this point. So it does make sense, and this is going to be a system seller. This is something like a Donkey Kong, like a Mario Kart World, that is going to push people into wanting to buy the console. And audio wise, design, it's actually, this is a pretty sweet game overall. I've had a good time. I'm not at the very end yet. I've had this for a little bit to play around with, and I wanted to thank Nintendo for that. But it's going to take me a little bit longer, I think, till I do a full complete run, and I'll have maybe give my thoughts on that once I have the full picture, once some time has passed. So if we do want to do any spoilers, we could do a spoiler cast talking about it down the line once people have had more time to play. But as it stands, I'm actually quite impressed. It's a lot better, honestly, than what I was expecting. And I've been a fan of the life sim and the farming style games in the past. Just never been like, I haven't been like super hooked in since like Harvest Moon on the Super Nintendo. Like that's how far back I go, 30 years or more till when I was like really into this style of game. And this has kind of got me hooked, so I'm actually pretty happy with it. I think it's going to be something that a lot of people that maybe were on the fence or didn't even think about it, like they're going to start hearing from people left and right being like, this is really fun, you should try. I do think that if you're somebody that isn't even a traditional big fan of this genre, you'll probably find something here to really latch on to. It's a good sort of gateway into that entire genre. So I would say Pokopia, whatever. I think you'll have a really good time with it. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check it out.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
Gossip, rumors, panic in the streets. We're lucky.
This Week in Geek
News.
Welcome back to thisweekingeek.net. My name is Mike the Birdman. I'm joined with Alex the producer. It's time to talk about the nerd news, such as it was in This Week in History. All right, our first story comes courtesy of E! Online, but has been verified by multiple outlets as of this recording. Sarah Michelle Gellar reveals the Buffy reboot is canceled at Hulu. Sarah Michelle Gellar announced that Hulu's planned Buffy the Vampire sequel is no longer moving forward at the streaming service, noting that she wanted fans to, quote, hear it from me. The Buffy the Vampire Slayer alum shared that a planned reboot of the supernatural drama, which was set to debut on Hulu, is no longer in the works at the streaming service. Quote, I'm really sad to have to share this, but I want you all to hear it from me, she said in a video posted on Instagram March 14th. Quote, unfortunately, Hulu has decided not to move forward with Buffy New Sunnydale. Sarah was set to executive produce the series alongside Oscar winner Chloe Zhao, who also directed the first episode of the unaired sequel series, and she thanked the filmmaker for the opportunity to reprise her iconic role. Quote, I never thought I'd find myself back in Buffy's stylish yet affordable boots. Sarah continued, thanks to Chloe, I was reminded of how much I love her and how much she means not only to me but to all of you, and this doesn't change any of that. Quote, I promise, she said in closing, quoting one of the character's most memorable lines, if the apocalypse actually comes, you can still beat me. Shortly after E! News learned about the planned continuation of the original series, which aired from 1997 to 2003, Shara shared her desire, quote, to do it justice, given that it had been over 2 decades since he portrayed the teen demon hunter. Goodness knows that there's big shoes to fill, my own, she told E! News on February 2025, which is kind of weird. I should fit in them. While Sarah made no secret of her hesitation to revisit her signature character, she believed the would-be revival finally felt like it would be an idea worth exploring. Quote, in closing, she says, I've always listened to the fans and heard your desires to revisit Buffy and her world, but it was not something I would do unless I was sure we could get it right, she wrote on Instagram at the time. I promise you we will only make the show if we knew we can do it right, and I would tell you we are on the right path there, end quote. I'm disappointed. I do think a Buffy revival would be interesting, but if they don't do it live action, do it animated.
I don't think it was going to work as a series that would keep going. I think the smartest move for reviving older shows like this is a series of TV movies.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. More budget, more time.
Because it's from the era of 22 to 26 episode seasons.
Yeah.
The main cast is in their 50s. And it's not to be rude. It's just, I don't think that the audience is there for, a 20 episode commitment. And if they're going to do 10 episodes, we kind of know how the biggest mistake that YouTube, like not YouTube, but like the YouTube generation has made, and how that led to Netflix and everybody making these shorter series, is they'll take a movie and then turn it into 10 episodes, and you have 90 minutes of plot spread over 6 hours. You know what I mean?
Because they've done stuff with sorry, go ahead.
And that has been the biggest problem with most of the Marvel stuff, even. You know what I mean? Outside of Loki and Scarlet Witch and Vision, everything has been a TV movie spread over 6 to 10 episodes, and that happens for a lot of stuff. I'm just using those as examples. I feel like you want to keep their interest with Buffy, and that is greenlight 3 movies at a time, and you do one every 4 months. You keep people coming in. You're like, okay, so have one come out in June, you have one come out in like
October,
September, and then you do like a Christmas, like a December movie.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty wise call.
Probably a good example of that actually working, even though it's on a network or a streaming platform that isn't working so well, was Peacock. When they first launched, first of all, we never did get the Battlestar Galactica show at all. That was greenlit and apparently shot, so I don't know what happened there. But Universal greenlit some other stuff from the USA Network. The prime example, they did 3 TV movies. I think it was at least 3 for Psych, that comedy, the drama comedy detective show.
Yeah, which is really good. Yeah,
the show is hilarious and awesome. And I was like, okay, so they're doing I thought that was going to be the route that people took, a TV movie every 6 months or so. And if you do that, you can greenlight, let's say you greenlit 4 shows, 4 revivals, and they do the TV movies. That's smart, because then once a month you can basically have a new TV movie on top of whatever your streaming shows are, and then you have something that you can then also sell to linear TV or throw into theaters in Europe and other countries, or maybe they don't have your streaming platform, or you can put on home video. Which is more appealing to these companies now, putting out a Blu-ray set of 3 or 4 discs of a mini-series show, costing X amount of extra dollars, or they could charge the same price for a single disc release with 1 movie. It just makes more sense to me financially, but also you can keep the story. That's how you can make sure that the stories are good. I had a feeling the show was going to have a strong pilot and then have a very weak rest of the season.
When I look at this, because I kind of had a similar idea with you when they canceled Chucky over at Sci-Fi and USA. I was like, well, why doesn't a network like Shudder pick it up? If you can't commit to a 10 or 15 episode season, do a couple of TV movies and spread out, because it makes more sense. Plus, that's prestige to your network. That's keeping the cast and crew employed, and it continues the IP. With Buffy,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, having a big Buffy would be kind of cool. As much as I enjoy a 45-minute romp adventure, give me a grand stage for an hour and a half, 90 minutes, maybe 110, and give me something really cool and build the next part of the lore, if you want to do that.
Was it the novelization of the comic books that were season 9 and 10 or whatever it was, right? Isn't that how they did that?
Yep.
Take them, you can cut out the superfluous stuff, even if you want to argue, oh, there's not superfluous. Okay. Distill each of those seasons down into 2 movies, 2-parters.
Yeah, find the best parts of it.
So what you do is you distill it down to 3 hours, you cut it in half, and you do the first half the first week of October, the second half on Halloween. And you could do that with the Chucky stuff, the same thing too, but if you did that, you could have 2-parters, or you do 3-parters. You do 3 episodes, 3 1-hour episodes to do each of those seasons, because that's less than half of the spread out time that they do for a lot of these shows, or more. And you could do that. You could have. Do you know how many they made? Was it 2 or 3 of the comic book seasons? I can't remember how many.
They went a fair amount. There was also a huge amount of novels.
I think it was. Was it seasons? Was it seasons 8 and 9? I think for sure got adapted. They had the story.
Yep, and I think Angel got season 6 and 7 in comic as well.
Yeah, and I mean they're not going to make that one because he's still successful.
Well, it's funny too.
I feel bad, but this is not the first project she's had that's been canceled on her, either before it got off the ground or prematurely. She's had pretty bad luck ever since she was in that show that Robin Williams, when he passed away, was in. Remember, she was playing his daughter, and then and then he was gone. Let's say, right, and the show was canceled right after. It was a broadcast show, and it had pretty good ratings, but she's had a rough go the last 10 years.
Well, one of the other things to consider is, now that Josh Whedon is no longer considered well respected, we'll say,
and that goes into other stuff. I don't know. It's if this was by itself, I would go, is there something wrong? Is it a budgetary, like it's weird that you'd have something greenlit, it would be filming, and then you have their pilot done, everybody loves it, the network loves it, and then they decide not to. Like, you could be like, okay, is there a major budgetary issue? But there's other projects that were connected to Joss Whedon that are coming out or were coming out that also seem to randomly have gotten the boot in the last little bit, and it makes you wonder, is there a vendetta against him within Disney, within the projects? Is there something holding them back from letting it happen? Or was there, or we might find out, was there somebody within Hulu, within the larger scope? Hulu itself is basically shutting down. We know that, and they're merging. In Canada, we never had Hulu. We always had Stars and quotes on Disney Plus. Is there somebody at the streaming network that was championing it that is no longer there now?
Yeah, and one thing to also kind of look about this too is to look at the lore of Buffy, like very high level. And I'm just going to not get too far into the weeds here, but a lot of these cast members have aged. And when you have immortal characters like Spike and Angel, James Marsters still looks fairly handsome for his age. And that's, not to take away from him. Same with Sarah Michelle Gellar, aged rather gracefully. Like
she's also human, so like, yeah, she looks great. If you hear her voice is sounding, I don't want to sound bad. She kind of sounds like an old lady when she talks now.
She's tired, and that's okay.
She sounds like she smokes 2 packs a day. Is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, that's not. I'm not really not saying that to be rude. It's just I heard her doing interviews, and I went, wow, her voice is aged. She doesn't look like, she looks great, but her voice, she sounds a lot older. She doesn't sound like she can pass off as somebody in her 40s. And that also brings into other things too, because you have to look at the other cast members. Obviously, Nicholas Brendan, the guy who played Xander, has a very troubled history with drug abuse and substance abuse right now that is documented. So would he be invited back? Anthony Stewart Head, who played Giles, don't know whether he has any interest in doing something like this. I don't want to say Hannigan. I didn't even know if he's alive still. I think he is.
Oh, yeah.
But like, you've had the pretty much the high profile deaths. Right? Yep. You've got Trachtenberg. She passed away really like young, in her 40s, right? So she's gone. You've got Ed Boreanaz, as I alluded to earlier. He's going to be the Rockford in the Rockford file. Like, he still looks great for his age, and he can do stuff, but like, he's in his mid 50s, but he's also very busy. He still is he's one of those guys where, even if you haven't been watching his career, he hasn't had a single year since 1997 where he wasn't the lead of a TV show.
I think he's had some controversy, but nothing stuck to him enough that it would end his career.
But he's also going to be working for a rival network. So it's not like, so the best he could possibly have done was a cameo.
Yeah, so it's like, what do you do with stuff like this? And again, as much as I want to see the story of Sunnydale, maybe now's not the time. Sarah, you've had your tenure. Maybe we'll come back in 10 years. I'm fine.
And I don't want to get flack for it, but again, some people do age out of the roles.
Yeah, and that's perfectly okay. Like, look at Tamora Morrison and Boba Fett. The time to do that would have been way earlier than
the time to do that role with him was 2007, not like 2017, 2018 when they started like casting. I would say this. I still think it would work as a movie or two.
Yeah,
because you could. I just don't know if the current cast could really, hold it. But I am very surprised at the timing. Like, why cancel it when it was already fully greenlit?
Yeah, like something doesn't smell right at the Bronze.
And this isn't a case of the pilot was bad. Everybody internally was saying the pilot was good.
And it sucks that we're never going to see it. That would have been something. That would have been a nice gift to the fans, but I get it. So moving on into other depressing news, but that all depends on your matter of perspective. As reported by Variety, Paramount Pictures and Hasbro are not moving forward with a take on the new G.I. Joe movie from screenwriter Max Landis. Multiple sources tell Variety. Landis, son of Trading Places director John Landis, was engaged by the studio and toy maker earlier this year for a script treatment surrounding the iconic action figures. New film leadership at Paramount is prioritizing the relaunch of this IP and others, including Star Trek. Paramount passed on Landis' treatment for creative reasons, one source added. The studio is still in talks and awaiting scripts from writers, including the Righteous Gemstones star Danny McBride. Reached via Instagram, Landis told Variety he was, quote, tremendously grateful to have been given the opportunity. He elaborated that his pitch came together very serendipitously based on the coolness of the weird and subversive idea. The idea had centered on the film's franchise villains Cobra having successfully taken over the world and reduced G.I. Joe to a conspiracy theory. But that's just how big IP development always is. Honestly, I was surprised it was reported at all. Paramount Pictures did not respond to a request for comment. A rep for Hasbro could not immediately be reached for comment. News of Landis pitching on the project grabbed headlines as his career cratered after allegations of sexual assault and other misconduct were brought against him in 2016 by 8 women. At the time, Landis was dropped from his agency, CAA, and multiple development projects set up at the studio were canceled. That probably played a role in this. I like his idea, but
can people just not be dicks?
Yeah, like can you not be a creep?
I don't get, like, why? Okay, whatever.
Yeah, and like the idea for a new G.I. Joe, like I want to see it because they clearly set it up in Transformers Rise of the Beast where Noah gets recruited by G.I. Joe right at the end of that movie. And it's kind of hinted at in Bumblebee that G.I. Joe exists with John Cena's character. So it would be cool to see this. I mean,
G.I.
honestly,
Joe will only work if they make it either ridiculously goofy.
Yeah.
Or... Oh no, I don't even think it will work any other way. It has to be goofy. It has to be within its own world.
Yeah, like it has to like you can still have the military coolness in it, but you have to recognize you're taking place in a fantastic world. Like of the 3 live action G.I. Joe movies, my favorite is probably G.I. Joe Retaliation, which is the second movie where they've killed off Duke. Now you've got The Rock, you've got Scarlet, and you've got Flint and all these other characters. And that, like, okay, that's cool. It reduces G.I. Joe, and then Bruce Willis shows up as General Hawk. That's cool.
I think the worst part is it's not colorful enough.
Yeah, like, because you need to have loud, bombastic characters. You need to have your Destro, your Cobra Commander. You need to have the Baroness. You need to have the twins, Zaymont and Tomax. You need to have the fantastical elements. You really do.
I think we should look at the Masters of the Universe movie coming up and see how that turns out.
I hope it lands so well.
And if the tone and look of that is sort of what I'm thinking Joe should be, I think it should be take reality and throw it out the window.
Yeah.
And can we live in a cartoon world?
Yeah, because I think it will work. Because you look at the Transformers movies are in a weird place, for example. Like, Bumblebee is the most grounded in some ways. Rise of the Beasts tries to introduce more fantastical elements from the cartoon and is largely successful. But the Bayverse movies outside of the first one feel disconnected from each other. So trying to introduce hyper-realism into a world of transforming robots kind of works and kind of doesn't. You have to find that balance. When Travis Knight did Bumblebee back in 2018, it worked very well. When the new director did Rise of the Beast, evolved that formula and it more or less worked great. With G.I. Joe, you're going to have to try something different. Because again, you're introducing vehicles with names like the Stun, the Asp, the Trouble Bubble. You're introducing all sorts of weirdness.
Film that shit on a Pacific island. Make it very colorful. We're talking bright costumes. Don't show the world to even look like the modern world we live in. Show it to be like a cartoonified world, and you would do well.
Yeah.
Nobody wants hyper realistic stuff when right now the world's almost at war.
Yeah, because like in G.I. Joe, in the second movie, Cobra drops carbon rods or no, maybe no, it's in the first one, but it doesn't matter. They drop carbon rods onto France, or maybe I don't know. It doesn't matter. This happens in the franchise, and they destroy a city on a massive scale. We are in a war right now where we are having very serious discussions about drone attacks in California right now. Like the police have been warned, like you need to be aware of this.
Unless you want to remake the cartoon movie, I don't see a point in making a new G.I. Joe for the next few years.
Yeah, the world needs time to settle down.
And when I say cartoon movie, I mean like do a live action adaptation of with all the snakes and Cobra la 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 and all that bullshit. And my only notes are it has to be Sergeant Slaughter as Sergeant Slaughter running the fucking the pit, and they have to have all the people in it, and like all the characters have to have dyed hair to be like fluorescent colors like it is in there. It's got to be that, and the only thing that takes you out of it is that you realize that Sergeant Slaughter is Sergeant Slaughter. That's the only thing that I accept.
That one thing that really made me happy is in the live action G.I. Joe movies, they gave the Sergeant Slaughter role to Brendan Fraser. I was like, that's fucking cool. I was so happy to see that.
Yeah.
And, like, obviously he's done something. But, yeah, if you can bring back the Sarge, that would be great, despite some of his more controversial takes. But for the large part, he's a conservative old man. Who cares? He's fairly harmless. He hasn't done anything terrible yet.
We say, knock on wood. And I mean, like... Beyond that, G.I. Joe works better as a cartoon. It just does.
And it has to be at the right time, because you look at, as you mentioned, like you can't escape the politics of war. You can't. And G.I. Joe, obviously being a toy delivery vehicle, but like I'm reading the comics, for example, from Skybound, and it tells a very interesting story there. And we are getting the Transformers Kirkman series on Amazon in a couple of years. If you're going to do G.I. Joe, use the Transformers show to backdoor it in, which they're doing in the comics anyway, because that's how they backdoored the Transformers.
But also, and without trying to be too negative, because I mean, most of our listeners are in the States, you got to consider this. G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, it is an American show, but with a global reach. And also the movies make more money internationally than they do in America nowadays. Very, very few films are the flip where they make more in the States than they do internationally. America is not viewed as the world's heroes right now. They're just not. And even if like, okay, whatever, 50% of America votes one way, yada, yada, yada. We're not getting political beyond the fact that if you look right now in the world, America is not seen as the heroes of G.I. Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
They aren't. So if half of America, would still be happy to see G.I. Joe, but the other half isn't because they're disillusioned by it. And then on top of that, the world, there's nobody in the world right now that wants G.I. Joe that isn't like a super fan that can like put the world politics out of their head. This is the next 5 years is the worst time to make a G.I. Joe movie.
Yeah,
or TV show.
Like, it's funny because like I spend some time on Reddit and I read a lot of the conversations. I don't participate very much, but I lurk. And I saw one person in a thread in a Transformers subreddit had said Transformers aren't political. And I'm like, you realize it's a story about slavery and equal rights, right? And war. No, it's not. Actually, I would invite you to tell me how you came to that conclusion.
Five Faces of Darkness, son.
Yeah.
Five Faces of Darkness, part 4 or 5, when this is my nerd showing through, when Rodimus short circuits himself to go into the Matrix to find out what's going on with the Quintessons, and they give that like 3-minute spiel where they show that it was literally they gave intelligence to their robots, enslaved them, and when they finally broke free, it became a civil war over the right to rule.
Yeah, and when you go into the comic books, it gets so much deeper. And when you look at GI Joe, because I know when the show went into its third or fourth season in broadcast, they dropped Real American Hero, and it became a real something. I can't remember what the term was, but they tried to drop it because they were trying to appeal to international markets.
Well, it's when they added. It was when they added. You remember there was like a Canadian play set. It was basically all the allies. When they expanded to have heroes from other countries work with the Joes, like as like an allied group.
Yeah, and it's not something you can do in the current political climate without it being ignoring reality that is unfolding around us, or it being turned into a propaganda tool. It's not going to happen. And when you see the messaging that comes out of the administration, which is factually true, they're using video games like Halo. Like there's one ad where like stop the flood, and they're referring to people. So you're right when you say America is not.
Yeah, they're also they're alluding to literally the way old Nazi ads were programmed, and then just altering it and putting video game characters in it. It gets very mucky with how things are being run right now.
Yeah, so
regardless of the side you're on, and which way you fall on any of this, you can say what you want about us or anybody else. You got to admit, financially, it's not a good time to do GI Joe. So I get why things like this aren't happening right now.
Yeah, like if you want to experience GI Joe, I highly recommend you check out these Skybound comics. They are wonderfully written. They're in the middle of the Dreadnought War storyline right now, and
basically,
it's really fantastic.
Comics are still generally low risk.
Yeah, exactly. Because if it's not successful, you can just cancel it, and it doesn't hurt as many people as Well, I guess that's not true, but you get the
okay. The fans are left out, but who does it hurt financially? It hurts a couple colorists, an artist, a writer, and a publisher. You know what I mean?
Like, they'll find a new title to greenlight.
Yeah, it's not a matter of like, hey, we made this movie and it bankrupted the studio, and now 20,000 people are out of work.
Mm-hmm. All right, so moving on to our final story this week. This one has been a long time coming, and I don't know how I feel about it. Once again, under the shadow of Joss Whedon, from Deadline, but it has now been confirmed across multiple outlets. Nathan Fillion says Firefly animated series in development with co-stars set to reprise role concept art has been revealed. Nathan Fillion just revealed at AwesomeCon that an animated Firefly series is in advanced development based upon the beloved cult sci-fi franchise, and Deadline has the details. Fillion spoke on a panel at the Washington, D.C. event at a live taping of the Once We Were Spacemen podcast alongside co-stars Alan Tudyk, Gina Torres, Jewel State, Marina Baccarin, Sean Mayer, and Summer Glau, all of whom are expected to reprise their roles. Adam Baldwin, who played Jane Cobb, will also lend his voice to the project. The animated reboot is being handled through Fillion's production company, Banner Collision 33, in partnership with 20th Television Animation, which controls the underlying rights to the franchise. Married writing producing team Mark Guggenheim, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, and Arrow, and Tara Butters, Agent Carter, Reaper are attached to serve as showrunners. The script has been completed. Joss Whedon, who created the original series, is not involved in the animated project. During today's panel, Fillion confirmed Whedon has given the series his blessing. The proposed series is set in the timeline between the original 2002 television run and its 2005 feature film continuation, Serenity, expanding the universe while preserving the continuity with the established lore. Early concept art has been developed in collaboration with Oscar and Emmy-winning animation studio Shadow Machine, which can be found below. I don't see those things. The fully assembled package is expected to be taken out to buyers shortly. Quote, the dedication of Firefly fans has kept this 25-year-old show relevant. Clearly, the return of Firefly is something the fans want. More importantly, it is something they deserve, Fillion tells Deadline. This is 25 years too late.
I'm already... When I heard that it was animated, I'm out.
I don't mind it if the animation's good, but it's the story.
It's not that this series depended on people's physical acting and emotions. It will not be the same, and I'm not trying to be a downer on all this, but this is where the rumors were flying that as soon as Buffy was canceled, that the talk was that this was canceled too. Internally, because the way that they built this up, he was doing like a whole social media thing for like a week, knocking on people's doors, and it wasn't like low budget. It was like a studio was producing the little segments of him of talking to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they had a network deal and it was pulled before they made the announcement.
Yeah, because them shopping it out to buyers, I'm like, honestly,
why something big is coming? It's not big if it hasn't been fucking produced or greenlit.
Yeah, like honestly, what I see happening, or what I think is probably the most logical path for this to follow,
is Hulu's dropped all their new programming. You're probably going to see, because what comes up in the next month, the network upfronts.
Yep.
I think Disney has dropped all of the Hulu projects. All of the projects that were done through Fox are gone.
Alien still, that starts filming in like a week or two, so that's still
that's because that money's already been set aside.
Yeah,
I think everything new for the fall of next year is gone, and they're scrambling right now to figure out what they're going to do.
maybe as a follow-up, because you're more tuned into the television stuff, maybe follow up on this, because I'd be very curious to see.
I'll check in April and May for the upfronts when they're talking, because like, when was the last time you heard of a new show on Hulu?
Outside of Alien, that's about the only one I really cared about.
Was it the Pam and Tommy biopic documentary series that they ran?
I forgot about it. Yeah,
that's like 2 years ago or whatever. Like, and I know that
Alien and one more thing.
Hit
Monkey doesn't count because MODOK got canceled. Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, I know that they're trying to integrate and get rid of the Hulu branding and integrate right into the under their own category, sort of like here. Mm-hmm. But I'm not hearing any new programming from the old Fox people at all. It seems like they've pulled everything.
Yeah, it's just going to be more of the same, more Family Guy, more Simpsons, whatever.
I want to see, because this does not appear to be an issue of like, this isn't a CBS Paramount Plus thing where the new owners are afraid of making Trump mad or anything. This is Disney doing their own thing. These projects were not something that would have been opposed by the administration. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So to me, this tells me something more like, we'll find out at a next, like, whenever they do like a shareholders meeting or something, or we're going to look on LinkedIn and somebody's on like Variety is going to report that, hey, a whole bunch of higher ups within the Hulu brand are gone. This to me screams, they had a plan in place. They were going to announce that it was in production, and they were going to announce that it's on Hulu and all this stuff. And then at the very last second, like, they were already airing the clips that, like, the stuff that Nathan recorded, that was not immediate. That was stuff that was probably recorded a few months ago, and they just were slowly releasing it. I swear that in the middle of the announcement, they were told, by the way, there's no more financial backing.
Yeah, like, I think if this was going to go to any network, I think the most likely people to pick it up is Amazon. Here's why, and here's my thinking for that.
That's if Disney allows it.
Yeah, if Disney allows it, because Amazon, I think Invincible has maybe 1 or 2 seasons left in it, maybe, because the comics because the comics had a finite run. They're getting pretty up to the Viltrumite War. The Boys is done as of next month, or it starts its final season. There'll be one more spin-off.
Does Gen V still have another?
I don't think so, because it ties into season. Yeah, because it was like a 2-season run that ties into the last season of The Boys. So I think there's another Boys project, but it's live action. So their animation portfolio is Has Been Hotel, which is wonderful. There is Vox Machina, and there's The Mighty Nine. So they've got 3 or 4 animated shows in there. They're going to want to strengthen their portfolio. So if Disney allows that sale, possible. But they also have the God of War series, which is getting ready to go. Well, Mass Effect still being talked about.
They're not going to Paramount or HBO, because who knows what's happening with them. They're going to be very tight on their own programming until they know that their deal even properly finishes.
Yeah.
And so, like, unless Netflix wants to pick up a season or 2,
which would be a smart idea, because Netflix's animation, there's not a lot, because Big Mouth is now done. BoJack Horseman is done. Like, I don't know what animated projects are over there.
I mean,
right now
Apple, but Apple's also been very choosy. Apple's sci-fi programming has been very, like, adult like cerebral, thoughtful. They haven't done a lot of comedy.
Yeah, and if they do, it's very sitcom-y. It's very much like, I think they had a show called The Morning Show, which was with the one girl from Friends, right?
And it's like very, very well done. But again, that's not like a sitcom. That's like, a traditional, like a single camera. Yeah. I mean, they've got stuff that they're doing. The style of show that this is would tell me Amazon Prime. You know what I mean? Like,
I could see that, yeah.
But also at the same time, what's Amazon Prime got? They've got the Stargate revival coming, and then they also. But also at the same time, I think is it Hulu that is apparently they have greenlit a new season of The Orville. So I'm confused as to where. I don't know why this hasn't been like. This is weird, man. I don't know why. Why would you announce a project that you signed all the actors onto that has no financing or a network?
Yeah, like honestly, I think when would have been the perfect time to premiere this? Pandemic. This would have attracted people to your network in droves.
Yeah, and I mean,
now
great actors.
Yeah,
they're all still alive, but
except for the guy who played Book, because he passed away.
Well, yeah. From the he was in
Serenity, but they kill his character.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
That's why they're setting this timeline.
Yeah, Glass or whatever his name.
Yeah,
his last name was. Good actor. I mean, he's gone, but at the same time, what killed this for me now? I didn't know this until you said it. I am done with mid-quills.
It's hard to do it right. It's hard.
Why would I want to watch this? I know how it ends. I don't like a mid-quill because I know how it ends. It always ends with the fucking movie or whatever that was already out 20 years ago.
I would argue
why should I care?
Mid-quills can do it right, Andor being a great example.
Name a single Star Trek or Star Wars one that has done it right that isn't fucking Andor.
Clone Wars. Mandalorian, seasons 1 and 2. Let me think about that. I'm thinking of Marvel properties right now. Midquel, WandaVision, Loki. There are good.
Loki's not a midquel. Loki's a sequel.
Depending on how you frame it, it could be done in both. But my point of the matter is, it's hard to do right because Clone Wars started off rough and then it built towards the conclusion that.
Oh, you're talking the cartoon. You're talking the cartoon. I was like, the Clone Wars movie is terrible. Like,
oh yeah, yeah. It sets up Ahsoka, but not in a great way. But yeah, like there are ways to do it well. It's just very hard to pull off unless you have a strong showrunner.
I see this, and I see sci-fi, and I see. Well, we know how it ends. Like, I thought they were going to do a thing where, like, okay, the reason they're doing this is because the actors have all aged and they don't want to make a live action with them in between, because you'd be like, why do you look 20 years older, but it takes place before the last movie?
Yeah, exactly.
So I get it. Then you know what? Don't fucking make it a midquel and make it a sequel. It's like, whoa, all you have to do is, it's like, the big reveal of what the Reavers were, blah 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 blah. The government covered it up. You know what? Maybe people would like to see what's happened in the last 20 years since the crumbling of that fascist government.
Yeah, I think that'd be fantastic. I mean, a midquel would be fine for 1 or 2 episodes, but yeah, advance the timeline. Show me what happens.
I also didn't know it was going to be animated until, that announcement just a few days ago. And I was thinking like, oh, I wonder if his show, The Rookie's, canceled or something. No, I was like, when's he going to have time to film a TV show? The answer is he doesn't. So I think this is doomed. And I'm not trying to be a downer, but like, nobody wants this. Like, they're like, the fans have been waiting for years, and they're like, it's a midquel. It's a midquel animated show that has no funding. What the fuck is this? This is a nothing burger announcement.
I think the fans want it, but the problem is that fandom is very niche but very vocal.
But that fandom is also very toxic. No, because half of that audience is mad that Joss Whedon was called out for his actions.
Yeah, I don't think that's an unfair thing to say.
The brown coat losers that wear that still fly the Joss Whedon flag. I'm sorry, buddy. That is not going to fly. Like, I'm just, I don't want them to greenlight anything he's worked on anymore because it seems like it's permanently tainted.
Yeah, because it's so unfortunate too. Because like I was thinking about doing a rewatch of Buffy at some point this spring, and even Firefly, because that's one of the first shows I ever showed Blair to get her in the sci-fi. She's like, this is really good and fun.
It was
Now,
already canceled. I was in high school when the movie was coming out, and it was already canceled, and I never saw it. And I'm a big sci-fi fan. I had never seen it, and the guy was like, check out these DVDs, and he lent them to me, and I was like, this is one of the most fun shows ever. This was in 2004, right? So it had only been off the air for a couple of years, and I was like, how did I miss this? This is amazing. Oh, I hope the movie does well and they do more. And then they did nothing.
Well, someone had posted on one of my social media sites, and I never quite thought about it until I started reading about it. When you look at the relationship between Mal and Inara, that's not going to look so great in 2026.
What you mean that he has a prostitute on his ship and he respects her, but every once in a while he tries to control her?
Yeah, not exactly great optics. So it's like, guys, I don't know how you do this properly. Like, the time to do this would have been about either pandemic or
for an animated series, yes.
Maybe 2012, maybe somewhere in there.
Now, I didn't want a TV show. I thought the announcement was going to be a movie. And if it was a movie, like, and I don't mean like gigantic budget movie, I meant maybe a movie that was going to be on Hulu or something, like that would pull the fans in. It really would. Like if you did a follow, like I don't know this aversion to the TV movie that they've all seemed to have right now. It's like, it doesn't have to be this giant budget. The show, when it came out, never really had a big budget. It was in that era when it came out, it was like the CG era of like Battlestar Galactica's CG, where it looked rough even when it came out, but we looked past it because the writing was so good. So
yeah, it's just like, I want something good, but I don't know whether that time has come and gone. So
yeah, I feel like it's not even like a nostalgia thing. I almost feel like, and I'm not trying to be down, but like, I don't know if enough time has passed for it to be like a nostalgia revival, like a full-blown one. Like, if you can get all the actors to come back and do a big project, yes. To me, this sounds like it's going to be lazy.
Yeah, there's just,
like,
I'm disappointed.
My fear is that when this does, okay, this is going to get, let's say it gets all the funding, gets greenlit, gets picked up by a station. Is it going to look like Marvel What If? And then I'm fucking out. Like, out. Like, I will never watch it if it looks like Marvel What If.
See, I didn't mind What If. I actually rather enjoyed it, but I did not feel
watercolor CG, like slow motion, stuttery looking frame rate garbage.
Not every episode was created equal. I will say that. And
that had a high budget, dude, during the pandemic.
I felt certain episodes got more attention, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, that's going to do it for this edition of the Nerd News.
Sorry. Maybe there'll be better fucking news next week.
Yeah, maybe. Jeez.
I mean, okay, I'll say, I want to end it on a good thing. I think that the actors, if they get to film this, they will be all in. We already know Nathan will do a good voice. It's yet to be seen if the other actors can do. I think. Well, we know that Alan Tudyk will be fantastic.
Oh yeah, he's always 110%.
And it makes me think: are they setting this when they're setting it because he dies in the movie?
Yeah. Oh, for sure, 100%.
Like I feel like the people that if they did a sequel show
would miswatch.
Unless he came back as like flashbacks or like dream sequences where he's giving them advice. I don't know how it would work because they kind of blew their load with the movie, and you could have done a sequel, but you'd have to introduce new characters, and I don't know how receptive people would be to new characters now.
Yeah, because I honestly think I would guarantee you at some point He's like, if you want me on board with this sequel, you got to set it during this time period so I can participate. So yeah, I guarantee you, Tudyk. This is speculation.
He's the most experienced voice actor in the group,
and he's the most beloved character because people love quoting Wash. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. So anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of the Nerd News Network, only on thisweekingeek.net. We're going to take a brief break here, and Alice is going to take us through the wonderful world of Razer. We're going to take a look at one of their new webcams, and when we come back, we'll talk about the weird news that happened around the planet Earth this week. And our first story is going to involve taco packets. And we'll be back, guys, right after this, only on thisweekingeek.net.
Alex, the producer here, and our friends over at Razer sent a review unit of the new Razer Kiyo V2. 4K now with AI, that's sort of the branding of it. That is a webcam for us to check out. I did sort of sit in on a session to learn a little bit about it, but I've been using it now for a little over a week, and it's a 4K 30, so 4K 30 FPS AI webcam, which, if you're using it at a lower resolution, like if you're using 1440p or 1080p, you can switch it to 60 FPS mode if that's primarily what you're doing, or if you want to match it, like, let's say you're a streamer and you want to, embed yourself in the corner of your gameplay footage that's running at 60. You can run the webcam at a lower resolution to then match the frame rate of your video, and it will come in crisp and clear. But if you're a content creator that does primarily yourself just being on screen, most streaming platforms most people end up usually doing 30 FPS. So, that's why 4K 30 is perfectly fine for that. But it is, it's pretty clear. I would say it's one of the crisper, one of the better looking images I've seen from a webcam, and I've tried a few over the last couple of years. It has AI-powered auto-framing, meaning it will know, how to keep your face in focus or the subject that you're moving in focus in front of it. It has full HDR range that it does automatically for you. Ultra-wide angle, 93 degree FOV for it. So you can zoom in, move around, you can pick up a part of the image and use it. So you have a lot of options when it comes to the framing of everything there. It works pretty well in low light conditions or not great lighting conditions, versus like having to have everything be like a super bright screen the whole time. There's pretty good noise reduction with it. As far as the audio pickup, it's pretty standard. There's nothing really to write home about. In general, if you're using a webcam like this, you're probably using either a professional maybe or prosumer level dynamic mic or cardioid mic, so probably condenser more than anything. We tend to use dynamic mics because we have noisy environments with TWIG, how we record stuff. But as that being said, it's adequate with what's built into it, but you're going to want to likely use a separate microphone that's a little more robust after that. It does have an integrated privacy shutter, which is good. Now, when you twist it, it covers the lens completely. It has the image sensor is a Sony Starvis sensor, which is pretty good. I had to look up what that was. It's sort of a better, more modern sensor that they've been using for a little bit now. It has a universal pivoting mount on it, which is pretty sweet. But yeah, as I mentioned, 4K 30 FPS, 1080p 60, comes in a variety of colors. I'll put a link in the description for you to check out. Pretty good and solid. I would say overall, one of the better, all-in-one packages webcams that you can get for under $200. $150 US, depending on pricing in Canada, you're going to want to check it out. It's somewhere in the range of, 200-ish, depending if it's on sale or not. But yeah, so worth checking out. It had previously been in one color. Now it's available in multiple colors. Well worth it. They have others in that line that maybe, hopefully we'll get to check out and do some comparisons of. But as it stands now, if you're looking for like just a solid entry to mid or a little bit higher range webcam, you really can't go wrong with the Kiyo V2.
Go crazy.
Don't mind if I do.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Welcome back to This Week in Geek.net. My name is Mike the Birdman Ashby. I'm joined with Alex, the producer, and it's time to take a look at the weird news that happened around the planet this week, only on This Week in Geek.net. And our first story comes courtesy of USAtoday.com. A Florida man is facing retail theft charges after local authorities allege he stole thousands of dollars worth of trading cards from multiple Target stores using 99-cent taco seasoning packets. According to a statement from Florida Attorney General James Untermeyer's office on February 26, Keith Wallace, 39, was arrested after he allegedly engaged in an organized retail fraud scheme at multiple Target locations from Miami to Orlando. Wallace has been charged with counts of felony organized retail theft.
Florida man alert.
Florida, indeed. 3 counts of felony dealing in stolen property and 1 count of felony money laundering, according to Untermeyer's office. Wallace is accused of committing 75 thefts at multiple Target locations across Florida between July 2025 and February 2026. Untermeyer's office said investigators believe that in each theft, Wallace would grab large boxes of trading cards and an equal number of 99-cent taco seasoning packets. Then, once at the self-checkout line, Wallace is alleged to have only paid for the seasoning packets. Authorities said Wallace would resell the stolen trading cards on eBay, generating almost $40,000 in revenue. A Target shopping cart is seen in front of a store logo in Osceola, California, U.S., November 16, 2017. Wallace alleged thefts result in a loss of over $10,000 in Untermeyer's office. The investigation is ongoing. Authorities suspect Wallace committed additional thefts at Walmart and Publix locations in Florida. Quote, "This arrest sends a clear message that organized retail theft, no matter how coordinated or far-reaching, will be aggressively investigated and prosecuted," Palm Beach County Sheriff Rick Bradshaw said in a statement. The card market for retail theft is so insane. Now, obviously, we have a relationship with Wizards of the Coast. I receive Magic, usually before pre-release or just a little bit afterwards. And the amount of people that have said to me, "Oh, I would resell that shit," and I'm like, absolutely not. But the amount of people who will steal sealed Magic, sealed Pokemon, not so much in other card games.
Yeah, well, and it's different. Like, if you're opening packages, if there's cards you don't want to keep, you can obviously sell the cards you don't want to keep. Or if they're like, or if you got like a double pack or something, it's like you could either do giveaways or do to family. You could do what you want. But what you were saying before was somebody's like, "Oh, you've got that. Sell everything you've got." That's not how it works for media.
Yeah. Well, plus there was that guy. Do you remember, Alex? We reported on this about a year or two ago when someone had received cards early by accident and they had the Pinkertons sent after them. So,
yeah, so I mean, you've got that, but also, like, what this shows is with the self-checkouts. Remember how self-checkouts, I know in the States they're only about 5 or 6 years old. We've had self-checkouts at a lot of our grocery stores for about 10-15 years
easily.
I believe it was the Loblaws corporate, the Superstore, and that was I think Superstore was the first store to get them in Canada, which Superstore is, for our friends in the States, is like, it's not a Sam's Club, but it's like, what if you took a Walmart Supercenter and made it a little bigger?
Yeah,
that's basically it. And they started by having like 3 checkout lines that were self-checkout, then they went to like, and you'd have like 20 normal checkout lanes, and then they shrunk it down to only ever having like 3 people working, and then the rest is all self-checkout now. But even then, they're like, "Oh, it's to stop theft." It was never to stop theft. It was to stop paying wages to full-time employees. That's what it's always been, because Loblaws is a unionized worker, so the workers make like $25 an hour. So like they're very well paid. So their solution was have less of them working was I guess what they did. But anyway, so what this sounds like, what they're doing is the weight of the cards the pack is so light that it's as light or almost as light as a package at the same size as a taco seasoning. So what they do is you hold them together, scan the seasoning, and put them both in the bag at the same time, and it will assume it's the right weight.
Yeah, like, and that's something you can even do in Pokemon and Magic cards. you can tell if a pack has holographic cards in it because you can weigh it, and you can tell if a pack is quote unquote heavy by its weight, which is really insane. And
So-
I've seen stuff on TikTok.
So all somebody
Where-
has to do is bring like
A scale.
we used to call them weed scales, but no, like a little food scale, a small pocket-sized food scale. You bring that, put it on the shelf, and quickly weigh each pack when nobody's looking.
Yep, you can absolutely do it because if you know what the weight of the package is plus the weight of the internal cards, you can
It
do
is
that.
also not illegal or against the store policy to do that.
Yeah, like I know
Because
locally.
there's nothing wrong with weighing. You weigh your own foods. There's
Yep.
nothing wrong with you weighing, as long as you don't tear the packages open. There isn't anything, unless the company says no, stopping that. So are they going to have to start putting them inside of those security boxes?
I'm so glad you said that because now at retail locations in Walmart, at least in my local area, and I know this is across most of Walmarts across Canada, the Pokemon cards and Magic cards are kept in a locked container, and you have to ask someone to come do that. Now, previous to this, there were people that would steal packs, and I'd witnessed this personally. And I would tell the retail workers, like, hey, man, something fucky's going on over here. So if I want to buy Magic cards at Walmart, I have to go ask them to remove, hi, I'd like 3 packs. You're allowed to pick your own packs, but I would ask.
Yeah, they legally can't like be like, you have to take this one. They can't do that.
Yeah. Now, in the States now, this is not the case. So what I've seen this on TikTok and Instagram, certain Walmarts that are combating scalpers pulled all the Pokemon cards off of the shelf and put them at the help desk. And normally people would come in, buy the entire stock, it'd be gone in 10 minutes. Now that stock is lasting at least 5 to 6 hours. So they can monitor scalping. They can also say cards are limited to buying 3 packs per customer, which is what some card stores do for allotment and whatnot. So
And if you change your store policy, you could make it, you could say, you know, right now, like I said, you could weigh the cards, it's your prerogative, but they could say, hey, it is a blind buy. If you want, we'll sell them to you, but if you want, you have to go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You have to pick at random which one you want, and you don't get, you know, if you don't want it, that particular one, you know, you can return it, whatever, but like, or, you know, on the shelf, but you don't get to like hold 2 or 3 at a time to figure out if one weighs more than the other.
yeah, like I'm so surprised at the sophistication of how the card industry has changed. Like I got back into Magic. Magic sent me the Assassin's Creed and Fallout stuff years ago, and I was like, okay, sure, whatever. But it was the Final Fantasy stuff that really got my attention.
I was going to say it was Final Fantasy. Did you get the TMNT stuff?
I did, and that's going to be a review for next week. And
Okay,
the
because I know they're getting some big licenses. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and Star Trek comes out later on this year. I've already expressed interest in covering that. So I'm like, hey, I write for the property. Do me a solid. And they're like, yeah, sure, we can certainly get you involved. And that's just me saying, hey, I'm a huge fan. I just want to see what you're doing. And even when I asked them to send me Ninja Turtles, I'm like, dude, do you know how much I love Turtles? And it's funny, short story. So I got my stuff from Turtles a couple of days late. And I sent my rep a quote from the first Ninja Turtles movie. And it was the quote where Mikey says, forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza. And my rep is like, holy shit, you got me good. That's funny, Mike. Like, yep, I've been waiting the entire time during this conversation to use that. But yeah, it's like card retail theft. It's so crazy because with the Magic cards, for example, currently in the TMNT set, there are a set of gold foil cards that are signed by Eastman and Laird, and they've had sales over $6,000 for a card. And in the Final Fantasy set, certain chocobos were going for over 17,000. Some cards even higher than that if the condition was good.
And to think, I used to go in 1994, 1995. I'd walk down the street to the local comic shop that was just down the road. It's no longer there. It was a hobby shop. We'd go in, pick up some random dice because they had cool sides. This is when I'm like 8, 9 years old, and we would pick up random. We pick up all the Magic cards for 10 cents a piece when they were just randomly loose, and for the sole purpose of putting them in our bike spokes.
Yeah,
and I'd use like cereal box clackers to do that, and then I find out that those cards could be worth thousands of dollars.
Well, it's so crazy because, like, looking at how the card market works now, there's even entire websites and businesses dedicated to this. There's a YouTuber that I follow, and he runs a side hustle called Mystic Rips, and he does Pokemon cards specifically, and even being able to source Pokemon cards under the tariff situation, such as it may be, made requiring stock remarkably difficult. And if you have vintage unmarked stock, that can be worth tens of thousands.
Well,
and there's high profile fraud with Logan Paul buying the case of Pokemon cards. Turns out it was G.I. Joe cards inside. So fraud is rampant.
Well, think about it. Like, if I'm talking, like, was that 31 years ago that I was doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Those would have been the first run cards, because didn't they only start in like 93, 94, something like that?
Technically 1990 to 91 was the alpha edition, and then around 93, 94, you started getting into the regular base sets, I believe. I dropped out around 96, which would have been around the Weatherlight expansion. And then, yeah, I'm surprised how strong it's come back in recent years, like, especially with their Universes Beyond collaboration and secret layer drops and all that.
You want to talk about how times have changed? Like, back then, again, it was any card in a box, and you didn't really know if they were worth, like, back then they didn't even have cards worth more than a couple bucks at the local store.
Yeah, it was rare.
Like, they were like 10 cents a piece, 10 cents or 20 cents a piece for the cards, like, comparatively to like how much a baseball card was worth back then. And now a baseball card's worth like nothing, because it's all about the age group of the people that will pay, right? Like, boomers are the people that paid for hockey cards and baseball cards. And the boomers are selling all their sets because they're either dying or they don't want them anymore. So the value on that, unless you have like a very rare, like, we're talking like a rookie card in mint condition from like the 1940s, you're not getting real money anymore for baseball cards.
Yeah, like, I've got a friend of mine who collects hockey cards, and he had sealed product from 2007, and he was recently opening them, and he had a Sidney Crosby card. And I told him, you get that authenticated, you get that graded right away. And it came back with a very good grade. I'm thinking, and you better sell that quick, because the market will not sustain.
Yeah. The market for sports cards is drying up, but it's all moved towards the TCG stuff.
Yeah, like, when it comes to sports cards, it's mostly, from what I've observed, and this is anecdotal, I've seen hockey move, I've seen football, depending, baseball, not so much anymore. And even older cards that may be worth like in the tens of thousands of dollars, they're not sustaining value anymore.
It's got to be pre-1960 stuff from the 50s and earlier, that still, that because a lot of those guys are now dead. So
and
it's like the old trading cards that have people's signatures on them, that's where it's still going to be worth some money.
And even then, those signatures have to be authenticated, because unless you can match the handwriting to known samples, you have to have so many experts agree upon this is a verified sample. Like,
it's almost worth more money when it's from a card company where the card company went out of business, because then you know that there's not really going to be replicas or reprints or anything. Yeah,
like, it's really hard too, because you have to look at where, like, who's authenticating it, how is this being judged, because I'm actually kind of surprised how much I kind of know about this stuff now, especially when it comes to signature authentication, when it comes to working with card stuff, because I've had my mother-in-law and other people in my circle say, Mike, can you authenticate these? I'm like, yes, but my opinion doesn't carry a lot of weight. I can tell you what I think it is, but you're going to need to go to
you can tell
PSA or CSA
if it's worth spending the money to have them assessed.
Yeah, and I've had some cards I have sold, some of my Lorcana, and I was able to sell one card for about $700, but I had to get it graded first.
Nice.
And that was pretty cool.
Somewhere in storage, somewhere here, I've got a binder that has an entire set of Batman Returns cards from 92. So I don't know.
Probably not, because that's, if you had lobby cards, that's a little different. But you would need press kits with it.
It's the trading card set with all the gum and everything.
Yeah. Some of those some of those do have some value, but because
I'm waiting.
market.
When we're in our 60s, my Pogs will be worth something.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned Pogs. They're now trying
Because-
to enter the NFT space, and it's so why?
Not even that. Some video games are coming with Pogs. This thing comes with milk caps. I'm like, you mean Pogs? You fucking liars! You just don't want to pay the licensing fee to call them Pogs.
Oh yeah, I can't remember, but I watched a documentary recently on the history of Pogs and where it all started. Honestly, look up history of Pogs on YouTube, and you'll be so surprised. It is such a fascinating industry that almost disappeared overnight.
Well, it was originally, at least in Canada, it started, I believe, in Toronto with milk caps from it's a Jamaican. It was a Jamaican brand that brought
Hawaiian.
the milk caps. Hawaiian originally. Down there, but like it was in the Jamaican community here where they were picking up. It was. I forget the brand name. It was yes, Hawaiian milk caps originally, but they used the same things with the Jamaican bottles, and that became popular here. Yada yada, and we're talking in the 60s, and then went away, and then bam, like in the States, Pogs was a fad for like barely a summer.
I'd say 2 to 3 years consistently.
In Canada, yes. In the States, it wasn't the same way. They had about a year of intensity. But here, from like 93 to 96, and you know what killed it? It was Pokemon. It was Pokemon,
and licensing, because any company could print them off. And it was funny, there was a print company north of Toronto that was printing. This is from the documentary, so whether this is accurate information or not, I can't tell you. But they were printing around 90% of the world's Pogs here in Ontario. So they had to open new printing presses to keep up with demand. At one point, they were printing, I think, 1 million Pogs per day. It was insane.
I think I have a full reboot set. I've got that might be. I don't know if I want to sell those.
The Jurassic Park set is surprisingly expensive.
I'll have to go. It's a red binder that I covered in stickers, and I've got a bunch of Pogs. I gotta find them. When I moved into this apartment 9 years ago, it's in one of my big blue bins of stuff. So it's somewhere. I had a Pog tube with my Keenies. I don't know if I have my Keenies anymore. But like some of the Pogs, like I've got some hockey Pogs, because you said it was everything, and obviously I've got some Disney ones from like Lion King and other stuff. But I distinctly remember I had the reboot Pogs; those are my favorites. And whenever somebody's like, "Hey, you want to play for keepsies?" No, I'll kill you if you try to take those ones. But I'll play the hockey Pogs. I don't care.
All right, moving on to our next story comes courtesy of Dextero. Scientists believe turbulent space weather around distant stars could be scrambling potential alien signals before they ever reach Earth.
This I got for you because I figured this is a Mike story.
Oh, yeah, because this is something I actually know a surprising amount about. Thank you, Star Trek, for helping me research this stuff. The idea comes from a new study published in the Astrophysical Journal, which suggests that stellar activity may distort radio transmissions from extraterrestrial civilizations, making them extra hard for scientists to detect. New research carried out by the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, or SETI, suggests any such signals of potential alien origin may not stay neat and narrow by the time they leave their home star system. Winds, plasma turbulence, and eruptions such as coronal mass ejections can interact with radio waves and spread their energy across multiple frequencies. The study suggests that interference from other celestial objects could distort any potential alien signals, rendering them useless by the time they reach Earth. When this happens, the signal effectively becomes smeared and weaker, potentially dropping below the detection thresholds used by many SETI searches. Lead SETI researchers said signals altered this way could slip past existing detection systems even if they are present. Quote, if a signal gets broadened by its own star's environment, it can slip below our detection threshold. To test the effect, scientists examined how radio transmissions from spacecraft in our own solar system are altered by activity from the sun. They used those observations to model how signals might behave in other star systems with more extreme stellar environments. The results suggested that certain stars, particularly active red dwarfs, could distort signals dramatically. In some scenarios, radio transmissions could be broadened so much that they would no longer resemble narrow signals that current alien searches typically target. And that's usually above a certain threshold range, because what you're looking for when it comes to alien signals, it's narrow band transmissions above a certain threshold. That's where the WOW signal originated in the 1970s. And Well, we've pointed telescopes and radio transmissions towards that area of the sky with replies. In fact, during the pandemic, we sent back a whole bunch of radio signals saying hi, hello in a bunch of different languages.
Hi, help.
Not a great idea. Yeah, hi, help.
Send help.
And I'm kind of surprised we didn't come to this conclusion sooner, because I was playing D&D last night, and this is all going to tie together in about 3 seconds. I described one of my players' connection to their god as being disturbed. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, do you remember when you'd listen to the radio during a thunderstorm and you hear the thunder crack and distort the signal? That kind of is how I'm relating to this, because if a signal leaves the system...
Little blips.
Yeah, so by the time that signal leaves that solar system, there could be gamma ray bursts, there could be stellar radiation of any type, it could be bouncing off an object that may be heavy iron or something like that, that could weaken the signal as it goes through it and around it. There's so much interference out there. How do you determine noise from intelligent signal unless it's specifically aimed at you and is of such an intense power that there's no way to mistake it for anything but artificial, thus intelligent? I'm not surprised. This makes me feel SETI is going to have to re-examine how its detection thresholds are managed. And for all we know, we may have already gotten hundreds of acres, if not more.
There is an actual use for AI, which would be using large models to try to either piece together disparate pieces, or using it to take fragments and see if they can put them into patterns that are readable.
Yeah, because like if you have the data, if you can see what the frequency drift is between these signals, at least with as much information, that we currently have, that could certainly expand this conversation. I will admit it's a little demoralizing, but I'd rather have my science refined and have it expand into something that can broaden that search, as opposed to now we're just going to give up.
You could also then, again, using AI, you could develop a model that goes, okay, well, if we know that the message is going to be distorted when it goes out after a certain distance, we're like, hey, let's target this part of the galaxy. How much drift and how much distortion would we predict based on its path? And you could use like an estimate of, okay, well, we only know so much from what we can visibly see or detect. And we'll go, okay, there's still going to be some distortion beyond that. Can we use a model to go, okay, instead of sending our message in plain English, let's say in quotes, at a certain frequency, should we do something to modulate it so that when it gets distorted, it actually distorts into a readable? You know what I mean? Like could you compress the audio in such a way that when it gets decompressed by the nature of space, that it's still readable or becomes more readable?
Or
the
if
further it goes.
I know one of the things we've talked about in Star Trek, and it's referenced in some of the shows and stuff like that, is when information was sent out. Sometimes when you send out the quote unquote universal greeting in a starship when it hails another alien vessel, sometimes we speak in math because math is the universal language. So if you send it out in hexadecimal or binary, that's just that is a universal constant.
But you know what I mean? Is there a way of encoding it so that it basically not just shields it? Like, could you, instead of sending like, it's like the word hello, could you send the word hello in whatever format you're going to send it, but also send a bunch of garbage around it, surrounding it, that you know will get distorted first, leaving the main message still intact?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly beyond my scope of stellar physics, unfortunately, but I do find this remarkably fascinating, and I'm surprised it honestly took this long for people to say, hey, wait a second. But fascinating stuff, regardless.
It was probably like a lot. This could be one of those situations where a lot of scientists thought the same thing, but were too afraid to ask, because not that they, like, a true scientist isn't afraid to
question their own results. Yeah, exactly.
But could this have literally been a case of a lot of people just assumed that it had already been asked before, but then nobody checked and realized that nobody actually did.
Yeah, because one of the key tenets of any scientific theory is your result repeatable? Can you prove it through scientific theory and analysis? Basically, what is your thesis? What is your antithesis? And with them constantly testing the limits, that's understanding. And this is good science. I'm really glad to see it. Final story this week. This one's a little bit messed up, and this time it's Ontario, man. This one comes.
You're welcome.
Thank you. This one comes courtesy of ctnews.ca. A Canadian tourist from Ontario is facing animal cruelty charges in Las Vegas after police alleged he broke into the Flamingos Hotel's wildlife habitat, chased several flamingos, and carried one of the birds back to his room. Officials with Las Vegas Metropolitan Police say the incident happened on March 3rd, shortly after 5 a.m. In documents obtained by CTV News Toronto, police say surveillance footage and video recovered from the man's cell phone show a series of encounters with the birds inside the habitat at the Flamingo Hotel and Casino, and later in a hotel hallway and room. Officials note the bird suffered injuries after the man attempted to, quote, pop its wing back into place. As a result, the Canadian tourist, identified by police as Mitchell Grant Fairbairn, was arrested on March 3rd at about 6 a.m. Court documents list Fairbairn's residence as Sutherland, Ontario. However, no such town exists. However, there is a Sutherland, Ontario in Durham region. Fairbairn is charged with 4 counts of willful, malicious torture, maim, kill an animal. According to the report, hotel surveillance video captured Fairbairn entering the habitat area in the early morning hours. Investigators allege at approximately 5 a.m., Fairbairn approached one of the flamingos, grabbed it by the legs, and pulled it to the ground. Police say the video shows him holding the bird down as it attempted to escape and later pinning it to the ground, again while taking a photo with a cell phone. The flamingo eventually escaped and swam away. About 7 minutes later, police allege Fairbairn targeted a second flamingo. Investigators say he waded into the water, chased several birds, and eventually grabbed one, dragging it across the habitat, holding it by its legs and neck while it attempted to break free. Fairbairn was seen walking into a hallway with the flamingo wrapped in a gray shirt before entering an elevator and traveling to the 14th floor. In a statement to CTV News Toronto, Caesars Entertainment said it is aware of the incident and condemned the alleged actions. Quote, "We are aware of the deeply distressing incident involving a guest who was arrested for breaking into our wildlife habitat and assaulting our flamingos," the company said. The company said the birds involved, named Peachy, was taken from the habitat and is now receiving care from veterinarians and the resort's animal care team. Our beloved birds, including Peachy, who was cruelly taken from the habitat, are currently in the care of our dedicated veterinarians and extraordinary flamingo care animal team, the statement read. Why would you do this?
Well, first of all, if you're not drunk, but or
Disturbed.
drugs, whatever. But I have 2 little things to say here. One, sorry, America, this is what happens when the rest of the country decides that we're not going to go on vacation in the States. You only get the weirdos.
True.
And 2, in the 1970s, this would have not ended in the news or on the police. It just would have ended with somebody smashing his hand with a hammer in a back room.
Yeah, and it's so funny because
seriously, the mob would have been like, "The fuck are you doing to our birds?"
Yeah,
and they would have just smashed his hands up. You can't do that no more.
Yeah, it's funny. I watch a lot of stuff on Las Vegas. I've got friends who used to live there, and I've been there myself, so I have a weird parasocial relationship with it. And the Las Vegas tourism is down, and from one estimate I saw, about 31% in the last 6 months. That's not insignificant.
That's not just Canada, but in Canada specifically, it's over 90% have stopped going to Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
But as a whole, I mean, well, first of all, financially right now,
it's
expensive. Due to political reasons, people can't afford it.
Yeah.
And the other big factor, the food. They no longer give free food. They're not giving free food. They're still giving some free booze, but you see all these videos on YouTube of even Americans going on vacation in Vegas, and they're saying the buffets are $30 to $50. They used to be either free or $10.
Yeah, because it depends on what resort you're going to. But yeah,
the vast majority of them are not giving food anyway. They're not going to do that as a loss leader anymore.
Yeah, it's not great. When I look at how this individual acted, I'm actually rather surprised security didn't catch him a lot sooner.
Well, not the first time. Like, you could argue, was he drunk trying to take the picture? But taking one back to his room required a certain amount of cohesion that you wouldn't think that somebody that drunk would be able to do. Is it just And I don't think it's drugs either, because that would have been mentioned. They would have mentioned he seemed inebriated. Like somebody would have mentioned that in the article. To me, this just sounds more like he's just an idiot.
Yeah, this is just, what happens in Vegas. Unfortunately, didn't stay in Vegas, but you shouldn't be doing this. Because,
but also he's fucked, man. Because think about this: if he does come back to Canada, he's the laughing stock of his town.
Oh yeah,
like the laughing stock and shame is done. He has to move. He cannot live in Durham County again.
Yeah.
I mean, like Durham County will be known for two things: him and that pretty awesome, murder mystery TV show that came out 10 years back. But two, if he goes to prison in the States, which he probably will, can you imagine what are you in for?
I hit a bird.
Pink bird kidnapping. What?
Yeah, like I don't think he'll be jailed. I don't. I think he'll have to pay a pretty severe fine, and I think they're going to say you don't get to come back here anymore.
There's enough charges that he'll do a week or something in there, and then he's probably deported and can't come back. He probably for sure. He probably now can no longer leave Canada. Yeah, which is too bad because we don't really want him.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things. I mean, obviously having wildlife at your resort it's a privilege, and when you have a care team. Because I know there was a resort in China that would allow you to have the panda. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. The red pandas one where they were kind of like you're not supposed to. Like, there's the ones where they'll come in and say hi and you can touch it, but like there's been so many instances of them disturbing the pandas when they're not supposed to.
Yeah. So in this instant, he willfully broke into a secured habitat to assault this animal, and it's like.
And why is there not wing?
Yeah, like why is there not 24/7 security? At least one or two guys monitoring the habitat.
This is what I'm saying, man. Like in the 70s, you couldn't get away with any of this shit. The mob would have been all over it. It's not like me making a joke. I'm being 100% real. Yeah. Back then, the mob was on that shit. They would not do anything that would let their facilities look like. Lax or like if you can get away with this, like not that you can rob them. Obviously, they're looking at the vaults and everything, but like the last thing they want is with tourism down for people to go, don't go there. It's not safe.
Yeah, or that's where the weirdos go.
Or look who they let stay here.
Yeah, like it's. Like, there are some very interesting channels that I watch on YouTube that document the tourism of Las Vegas and what different hotels can and can't offer you. And it's an interesting trend to observe how Vegas tourism has changed given the last 6 months. And removing politics aside.
Yeah, even the last, basically since the pandemic, when they tried to get people back in 2021, they went back to doing what they did before, free food, like food that was never free before but was always cheap was even free, comping everything. And then it feels like from 2023 onward, they've just been slowly eroding that, their I guess tourism.
Yeah, because the amount you pay in resort fees, sure, you can get a $20 a night room. You can absolutely do that. But with your resort fees and everything else that gets piled on top of that, you're looking at $80, $90 a night. And that's on the cheap end, depending on what end of the strip you're kind of staying on. And again, that's where not the cool stuff is. Sure, you want to go stay at Circus. Yeah, you've got options, I guess, but you're not staying at the MGM. You're not staying at the Bellagio or Caesar's Palace or any of these other major kind of properties because it's expensive.
And where it used to be like, okay, I'll spend a little bit extra to get a better room. Maybe they'll comp me, they used to comp you like extra tickets to see things. You might still get a ticket comped for something, but where it used to be you could go there unless you wanted to go to like a real tourist trap expensive restaurant. You could have for you and your significant other for less than $300 or $400 you could have a week's worth of food.
Yeah.
And now you're not doing that when every meal is $50-$60.
Yeah, like when I went
per person.
if you want to go to there's a world famous buffet. You're only allowed to eat there for 1 hour, and I think it starts at $100. I think.
So it's 150 Canadian.
I
basically.
think. Again, I may be getting some of the details wrong, but when I look at my trip, for example,
yeah.
When I went in 2014, when I won the contest with 7-Eleven and NOS energy drink, I went to a surf and turf place and I had lobster and steak, and that was $300. But that was a very high end restaurant. We then went to Gordon Ramsay's on our own time.
That was comp, that first
yes.
one, right?
Yes. And though Gordon Ramsay was not, me and Blair both had a meal there, and I think the grand total between the two of us was about $70 Canadian, which is pretty good. She had a burger. I had
at that time about 50 American.
Yeah. So again, that was 2014 numbers, but again, I watch a lot of Gordon Ramsay TV because he's like my comfort spirit animal for whatever reason.
When I first met you, you had like seasons of his show on DVD.
Yeah, like honestly, it was such a fun time.
You were a Hell's Kitchen family.
Oh God, yeah. And just observing how the cost of Vegas has just gone up, and you're right. Like most buffets have now increased. Resort fees have gone up.
Yeah, you're talking like a $40 or $50 brunch. It's like per person for not the quality that you would have expected for that price.
Yeah. And even quality has dropped among certain places too. I mean, and if you want to go to one of the more tourist trappy restaurants like Heart Attack Grill, for example, that's a noticeable increase in price from what I've observed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess unless you're our size, you can get in and eat for free because you're a big fatso. I mean, it's not going to be worth it.
Yeah, like it's disturbing that this individual thought he could get away with this. The fact that unless someone had spotted him, there's no way of telling what would have happened to this animal had that animal been in custody for hours longer.
Until housekeeping showed up.
Yeah, like, oh, why is there a dead bird in here? Oh, well, I guess we should have caught that. Yeah, you probably should have. So
and then if there's a dead bird, they got to clear the hotel.
Yeah, because that's a biohazard.
Yeah.
They have to test for bird flu and everything else because they have to perform the autopsy.
And even though it's like, oh, it's one of our birds, it doesn't matter. The second there's a dead bird, they have to clear out that floor at least.
Yeah, because it's a contamination risk. So, thankfully, like I said, he's been arrested. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police.
I think Buddy's going to do a little bit of time. It's not going to be long. I think he's either going to do time or the judge is going to. They're all about deporting people. They don't want to have necessarily Canadian in their jail, but I have a feeling they're going to make an example out of him. They're going to charge him the vet bill probably.
Oh, minimum.
The vet bill, they're going to charge him probably $1,000, whatever, clean the room and everything. He's going to end up with like a $5,000 or $10,000 bill. He'll be banned from the hotel and probably banned, and they're going to do something so that it'll be on his record that he's on the no-fly list to come back.
Oh, 100%. I would completely agree with that assessment. All right, guys, we're gonna finish things up here on This Week in Geek. We got one more review coming up from Alex, and when we come back, we'll talk about what's coming up on the site this week, and then we're going to end the show. So we'll see you guys right after this, right here on thisweekingeek.net.
Alex, the producer here, and our friends at MVD Visual sent over their latest in the MVD Rewind collection, and that is Mel Brooks's Spaceballs, the animated series, for us to review. It's on DVD, so it's not a Blu-ray, but I'm just happy that the series is actually getting a release physically at this point, because I remember watching a little bit of it when it came out. I didn't catch every episode, so for me this is the first time actually watching everything. Now obviously based on the original movie from the 80s, and the timing of this makes sense because Spaceballs 2 is coming out right. I think Mel's going to be turning 100 before the movie comes out if fingers crossed everything goes well. And it's also timing wise because recently we had the John Candy, biopic documentary about him come out and sort of revitalized a look into his career, especially with the younger people that maybe didn't, it's weird for me to think, but there's a younger generation of people that have never seen his movies. So it makes sense, property that was one of the more popular movies that John Candy was in. It has an animated show, time for release, that sort of thing. Now, this is released. It has the original stereo audio for it. There's optional English subtitles. It has the theatrical trailer for the original movie, a teaser trailer for the new movie, which is coming out 40 years later. Which is coming out, I guess, technically next year. The original plan, I think, was for this year, but it's coming out later. A collectible mini poster, a limited edition slipcover for the first pressing only. And it basically has all, 13 episodes in here. Now, it is in full screen because this was right at the end. 2008, when this came out, was right at the end before everybody had switched over to making all animation in widescreen. That would have been around 2010 when I think the final shows were switching over. So it's not that this is cropped or anything. This is how it was originally animated. So keep that in mind. Really funny series. It looks about as good as you can expect from, something that's interlaced. Now, because it's animated, that does help with being standard def. It doesn't, look nearly as bad blowing it up on a big screen as something would nowadays. But I am a little surprised that it is just a DVD versus a Blu-ray, but it might just simply be that the masters were only produced in standard definition back in the day, because not every channel or every show had been mastered for HD until, like I said, a couple of years later. So that being said, it's the best it's ever looked, that's for sure. Looking at old people try to upload copies on the internet or clips, bits and pieces around the place, this looks way better and sounds way better than anything previously. So if you're looking, you're a big fan of Mel Brooks, you're a big fan of John Candy, you're just a fan of comedies in general and animated series, it's worth picking up for sure. I'll put a link in the description of the show because I'm happy with this. This will tie me over until, the second movie comes out. Fingers crossed everything turns out well for it. And I guess may the Schwartz be with you.
Those magnificent bastards! Color me kooky, but something very odd is going on around here.
You're not allowed to talk anymore.
Welcome back to This Week in Geek.net, and what a fantastically involved show we've had this week, talking about some canceled reboots and revivals and scripts to a potential show coming back and asking the question, why? And then finally talking about the trading card market and the clear ill intent of an Ontario man to harm a flamingo, because reasons, I guess. Coming up on the site this week,
that bird, I'd be wrong. I don't like that bird. I don't like that one either.
He looked at me funny. So coming up on the site this week, the long-awaited Return of the King finale is being aired. Adam, Ken, and David all sat down and talked about the final film in the Lord of the Rings trilogy with the extended cut of Return of the King, and had a pretty spirited discussion regarding that. Also coming up this weekend, where we will celebrate the 35th anniversary of TMNT 2 Secret of the Ooze with a special on Loose Cannon, where we're going to talk about the original Ninja Turtles live-action trilogy, and we're recording a special on the animated movies, TMNT 2007 and Mutant Mayhem from a couple years ago, and that'll be released probably next weekend or something. Either way, you're going to see it soon, I think. So look forward for those coming up in the next little bit from me. The spell book this week will have an interview with Steven from Roll for Combat, which is a really fantastic interview we had with them. I reviewed some of those books in our holiday gift guide. You should see some of those appearing on the show over the next couple of weeks to months, because I got sent a lot of material and it's a lot to read. But it's a really fantastic conversation where he sat down with me and Damien and talked about some of the upcoming stuff they've got coming up for Roll for Combat. I know we talked about adding a Pokemon like Monster Hunter element to the game, which I think is really exciting. So yeah, you can look for that on Wednesday. And what's coming up from Earth vs. Soup?
We have episode 299, Curse of the Swamp Creature from 1966. And then after that, hopefully I have time to get together and put together a new intro, maybe some new artwork or something, because we're going to be hitting episode 300. It creeps up fast, man, when you have one every single week, or sometimes two in a week when we were having our hiatuses.
I'm so impressed with Aaron and Darlene being able to put together such a commitment to that show. Like I
didn't know there were that many old movies. Like, I know there's a lot of old movies. I didn't know there were that many old genre flicks. You know what I mean? There's so many.
Oh yeah, like that's honestly super impressive. And I know you and Aaron are discussing plans for some feature imperfects between you two. So looking forward to hearing those. Other than that though, I guess that's pretty much what we got. I mean, we're gonna have some review shows coming up as always. Alex does that. I'm working on more reviews. As I mentioned at the top of the hour, I'm working on Toxic Commando. I'm working on WWE 2K26. And I'm also I got a bunch of Transformers. Next week, I'm going to have a review of the TMNT Magic the Gathering crossover with a Commander deck, the Pizza Bundle, my play boosters. I'll talk about some of the big hits that I got, what I think this set's going to do. I'm really excited about it. Some of the community seems rather split on it. It's okay when you're wrong. It's totally fine because I love Turtles and Turtle Power. And I'm really glad that I had a chance to get this back into Turtles because, like I said, this weekend we're going to record the animation special for TMNT. And I haven't seen TMNT 2007 since it originally came out. And Mutant Mayhem, I loved more than I thought I would. And I saw it based upon your recommendation. So I'm really excited to chat about that with Dave, Adam, and Ken this weekend. So looking forward to doing that. And that's pretty much going to do it for us, I think, right?
Yep. I mean, I've got some movies and games that I'm looking at, but that's pretty much it right now.
All right there, guys. So once again, thank you for welcoming us into your home for over 15, 16... This podcast is old enough to drive now. In more ways.
We're in year 19, buddy.
That's insane. Like it's age of majority in Ontario, so that feels pretty good. And like I said, thank you guys for being a part of this journey.
I feel a little awkward that it's legal now for us to date our podcast.
Gross. But on that note,
there's some weird psychology thing going on in there. We'll figure it out.
Exactly. We will speak to a mental health professional. So once again, thank you all of you for being with us. We look forward to joining you next week right here on This Week in Geek, thisweekingeek.net. And once again, please check out the Spellbook on CFRU 93.3 on Wednesdays at noon. If you want to hear the live broadcast, that'll be fun. And then Alex will syndicate that later in the day. So we bid you adieu from the Tower of Geekdom. So from the lovely town of Kitchener, Ontario, Canada, we have been
Alex, the producer.
I've been Mike the Birdman, saying in these troubling times, it's most important to remember, be excellent to each other. We'll catch you guys again next time, right here on thisweekingeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
Lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.